Ooh. Podium slides. Don't lean on the podium, Rick. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our 6th Cyber Ohio Security Day. Thank you all for being here. As you can see, this is the first of 3 days. Tomorrow we've got the Amazon Web Services security training, and then next week the Defending Your Application from Security Threats training. If you have registered for those, we are pretty close, if not completely close, particularly for tomorrow, for being sold out. If for some reason you have registered, but you find out later that you can't attend, please let us know right away and email to where am I going? Email to where's Becky? Hello, Becky. Becky's hiding. So there's an email, cybersecurity at, hey Becky, what's the email to use if they can't attend the training? CybersecurityAT.OSU. There you go, that one. Use that one if for some reason you can't attend the training, so we can open up your seat to somebody else. So I just wanted to remind you that. This is the end of 5 years for us, a 5-year journey this year to get to 3 in green. Most of you will have submitted your survey results for this year, and I don't have the results in yet. So we don't know if we've hit 3 in green or not. But over the last 5 years, what we've moved to as Ohio State and as an industry is to move away from expecting the institution to protect all our stuff to moving towards having us protect all our stuff. So today, and as we move forward with cybersecurity at Ohio State, what you'll see is much more of a pivot towards helping you as an individual be secure. Because if you're secure, the university will be secure. And if you're secure, your family will be secure. So today, you'll notice that the tracks that we have are cybersecurity for OSU, but also cybersecurity for you. And so we're super pleased that you're here today to experience all of that. I want to thank in advance all of the tremendous speakers we've got. There's some really class speakers here today. And my colleagues in the security industry have reached out to me and said, how have you put this on? Because the quality here is super amazing. So thank you to all the speakers who've been there. I want you to know we have prizes this year because we're not above bribing you. So the way this will work, not at this keynote session, but at all the other sessions, at the end of the session, there'll be a raffle ticket. You'll be able to collect that from people in the room, and then you will be able to bring that to the registration desk sometime today. 4 o'clock this afternoon, we will have drawings, and you can see some of the prizes that are here. So hopefully you will take advantage of that, and you'll see us this afternoon around 4 o'clock. I would also, in advance, like to thank all the people who have put on Cybersecurity Day, and I'd like you to join me in a round of applause for those people, please. For a lot of the folks, this is a piece of their job, but it is not their only job. And so for all the people you see wearing, shirts like this, and oh, by the way, if you want a shirt like this, be here at 4 o'clock. All of these people have put in countless hours to put this event on. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you about what you liked and what you didn't like throughout the day. So do give us that feedback as well. So I am here actually to introduce you to Rick Howard. Rick is the Chief Information Security Officer at Palo Alto. He is one of the people who, when you think about security and knowing security and working in security, he is one of the first names that comes to mind every single time. So I'm delighted that he is here to speak with us today. His bio is on the cybersecurity website as well. If you would like to see that, I will not read it to you because you don't need me to do that. And please join me in welcoming Rick.
Like Helen said, my name is Rick Howard, and I am the Chief Security Officer at Palo Alto Networks. Our marketing person makes me say Palo Alto Networks. I'm not allowed to say Palo or PN or anything like that, so you know the rules I'm under. I have 3 jobs at the company. I am overall in charge of the security, both physical and cyber. We do have a CISO, and we do have a physical security person. They do all the work. I just take credit for it. That's the best joke you get today, okay? All right, so you have to stay with me on this, right? I run the threat intelligence team that Palo Alto Networks has. It's called Unit 42, and one of our analysts is here going to speak later today. Brittany, raise your hand. She's here somewhere, okay? And the last thing I get to do is things like this. I get to come out and talk to network defenders about cybersecurity, and we're going to talk about this kind of where we are, all right? But before we do, I'm missing some things. All right, so before I do, okay, can I change 1 second? That's the old slide deck? But we'll go from here. We'll go from here, all right? Here's how we started, okay? We had some tools back in the old days to start our network defender journey. We had Dorothy Denning here, who is responsible for building the first intrusion detection system back in 1985, all right? We got this guy, Bernd Fix, who was, let's say, the first person to write code to get rid of viruses on your computers. He's a German guy, okay? The first antivirus system. And we got this guy, Fred Cohen, who was responsible for coining the phrase defense in depth. How many people have heard defense in depth before? Some of you have, right? So this is what we used to do back in the day, back when Helen and I were young people. This is what we told our bosses about how we protect our enterprise. And I was trying to get the source of who came up with defense in depth for our industry, and I couldn't find it. It's not written anywhere. So I put it out on social media, and I said, who came up with this? And all the military people came up online and said, oh, we invented defense in depth back in the early 2000s. They said, well, no, that's way too late. It was way before that, right? So I kept looking and kept looking. I found a paper written by Fred. He didn't claim to actually coin the phrase, but he said people were using defense in depth to talk to their bosses, so that didn't really prove it. So I called him, okay? Hey, Fred, are you the guy? Are you the guy that invented defense in depth? He said, no, I didn't invent it, but I was probably the first guy to write it in a paper. All right, so you guys would appreciate this at a university. So he gets credit for it, all right? These two guys, Cheswick and Bellarmine, they wrote this fantastic book about the first firewall. Now, if you go out on the internet and read the scandalous papers about who takes credit for the first firewall, I'm not going to talk about that because it's one of our guys is involved in it, so go read all that. You will love it later. I'm giving it to these guys. They're the first ones that actually came up with the first techniques. Interestingly enough, they were trying to prevent their employees from going to the internet, not keeping the bad guys from coming in. Right? But all the same techniques are useful, so they invent the first firewall. And we told our bosses that we were doing this, defense in depth. Complicated concentric circles of overlapping defenses, and our bosses bought all this and gave us money to do it. All right, but what we really got was this. We all installed these 3 tools. We all had a firewall, we all had antivirus, and we all had an intrusion detection system, and we called it defense in depth, okay? And a couple of best practices emerged back in the 90s that we all still use today and still probably drives your decision making as you do your day-to-day job. First, vendor in depth. Everybody knows what this is? If we have any of these tools, we're not going to use the same vendor for that because we hate those bastards, right? So we're going to have a different vendor for all 3 of these things, okay? And the next one is best to breed. So if we're going to buy a firewall this year, we're going to bring all the firewalls into our lab. We're going to hit them over the head with a hammer until we find the very best one, and that's the one we're going to choose for our environments. And the last one is complexity is the enemy. All right, because whatever we do, we have to make it simple enough so we don't screw it up when we try to configure it in the first place, because you could have the best firewall on the planet, but if you don't configure it right, why bother, right? So, all right, back in those days, back in the early 90s, that was pretty good defenses. Back then, the adversary wasn't that mature. Defense in depth worked fairly well, but as the adversary got better, that kind of philosophy really didn't work that well, all right? So, and that's because it wasn't that precise. We just kind of threw prevention controls out of the network and hoped that the bad guys would run into them, okay? And any adversary worth their salt would kind of know how to bypass all that, all right? But that's what we had. We didn't really have any other tools. Other tools popped up later on. This guy, Ashar Aziz, he invents the first network sandbox. This is FireEye. You guys know FireEye? Okay, they're a competitor of ours, right? But every now security vendor has a network sandbox. Basically, a virtual machine runs the malware in a virtual network, and we see what it does, and we can tell if it's malicious or not. Anyway, Ashar invents it, it becomes a big vendor product. And this is our guy, Nir Zook. He is the founder of Palo Alto Networks. He's the guy that invented next generation firewalls. Those first firewalls were called old-time firewalls, okay, stateful inspection firewalls, and they blocked bad guys on points or ports protocols and IP addresses, right? And back in the day, that was okay, but in the modern day, if you get more than 20 roles into a firewall, you really don't know what's going on. You know what the worst case I've ever seen in any firewall around the world? How many rules do you think it is? You may want to guess? How many rules do you have in your firewalls here? It's probably 10,000 to 20,000 is the average. Worst case I've seen, okay, in Singapore, 100,000 rules. You guys should be groaning at that, okay? Okay, that's awful, right? And the reason is because the firewall guy or the firewall person, they keep putting rules in and they're afraid to take them out because they're afraid they're going to break something, all right? So stateful inspection firewalls didn't really work that well, and our guy comes up with a new way to do it. Now all the firewall vendors have this technology. It isn't new anymore. All the firewalls do this. And it's a shift from blocking on ports and IP addresses to blocking on applications tied to the authenticated user. So it's a different whole idea about how to do it, right? So you can now write rules in your firewall, and any firewall you have, the marketing department can go to Facebook, but nobody else can, all right? The developers can get to the development library, but they can't get to the M&A database, all right? So you get down, with that kind of technology, you can now do a zero trust idea, limit capabilities for whoever your users are. Anyway, Nir came up with the idea some 10 years ago, all right? And then fast forward to 2010, Eric Hutchins and his researchers at Lockheed Martin published the now infamous paper, the Intrusion Kill Chain paper. How many people have read this? Okay. All right, rest of you, this is homework for you. Okay, this is 10 to 15 pages. It is not that technical, but it completely changed the industry. So let me show you why. All right. So the Hutchins and the Lockheed Martin crew realized that as the adversaries attack their victims' networks, regardless of the tools they use, and regardless of the motivations they have to do these attacks on their victims, they basically got to do the same 5 things, okay, to be successful in their mission, all right? And the first one is they got to recon your network looking for weaknesses. Then they're going to craft a weapon and deliver it to some endpoint in your network that will leverage those weaknesses, all right? And then the third thing is they're going to commit somebody like you to run their little weapon so they take control of a node on your network. This could be a laptop, it could be a server, it could be a printer, it could be a fax, anything to get a toehold. And once they get that done, they have not succeeded in their mission yet, but now they are inside your network. What they normally do here is they establish a command and control channel back out to the internet to download more tools that will help them accomplish their mission. And then the very last thing they do is actions on the objective, which is basically they go lateral on your network looking for the data they've come to steal or to destroy. And if they're trying to steal it, they exfiltrate it out through the command and control channel. Okay, that is the intrusion kill chain. How many people have heard this before? Some of you, okay? This is what everybody thought was going to change the world. The bad guys, okay, when they attack their victims with their attack campaigns, right, they leave indicators of compromise in their wake as they are working their way down the intrusion kill chain, okay? Those are clues that they have been there. Okay, clues that we can pick up as intelligence analysts, as security professionals, to see what they are doing. So that's my official definition of what an indicator of compromise is, right? But so how do you use that information? White hat researchers and security vendors and government agencies all learn new indicators of compromise by observing what the adversary does as they work their way down the kill chain. And what we know is the black hats of the world, the adversaries, they don't invent new attacks for every new victim. They reuse it over and over and over again until somebody like us figures out how to block it, all right? The sad state of affairs is we're not very good at blocking, all right? Most of it, all the breaches you hear in the news is because we have failed to block things that we pretty much already know about, all right? The good news for the network defender community is that we know most of what's going on in the adversary community on any given day. I'm telling you, we know about 99% of it. Our failure is we haven't been able to convert those indicators of compromise and attack techniques into prevention controls in our environments, right? But we had the capability to do it. We have the capability today to stop most of the adversary activity. Not the brand new stuff that we haven't seen, but most of it, but we have failed to get those prevention controls in place. So that's really what threat prevention is. You take indicators of compromise and attack techniques and you convert those into multiple prevention controls designed for the adversaries that are attacking your network. And that's what the intrusion kill chain promised, okay? We thought it was gonna change the world, okay? And it did, but other problems emerged. Let me ask you this question. Since that was 2010 when that white paper came out, have all the adversaries disappeared? They haven't, okay? Why isn't it, okay? Other problems have emerged with the intrusion kill chain. The first one is we all have too many tools to manage, right? So the cyber kill chain came out in 2010, okay? That means that every vendor on the planet has invented a tool that will work somewhere on the intrusion kill chain. We have a cornucopia of tools. Notice the graphic. Come on, that's a great joke. You guys should be laughing harder at that, right? That's the second best joke I have in the deck, all right? All right, we call these point products because they have been designed not to talk to each other, all right? So that means that we put that burden on all the network defenders in the crowd, all right? And I go around and I talk to a lot of security organizations, and even small organizations, they have 15 to 20 security tools deployed on their network. Medium-sized companies have about 60 tools deployed, and big organizations like big banks and big government, they have over 150 tools. I was talking to a large financial organization last Christmas. Their CISO there, he claimed that he had 300 security tools deployed in his network. You should be gasping at that, right? Right? And his big performance objective for this year was to reduce that by half. Okay, so if he got it down to 150, he was considered successful in his organization. Nobody want to go with me on that? Okay, you should be gasping and all that, right? All right, so back in the old days, we had these four devices back in defense and that was fairly easy to manage, okay? But with all of these tools, the dirty secret in the vendor community is that we make all you manage that, okay? We don't integrate that for you, we make you do it, okay? And the size of your InfoSec staff hasn't changed that much since the early 1990s. It's about the same size. So every new tool that you get, okay, you have to manage it, you have to see what data is coming off of it. It makes it harder and harder to do it. And remember, vendor in depth, that's what got us here. Okay, that best practice is what's taken us to this place, right? And we have all reached a tipping point where we cannot consume one more security product. Even if it is the best security product on the planet. How many people have been out to the RSA Security Conference in San Francisco? Anybody? Okay, that is the largest vendor conference in the world. You go on the showroom floor, there were last year 3,000 security vendors, okay, selling their wares down the intrusion kill chain, and all of them have the thing that's going to save your internet. All of them. I talked to many of them. It's going to save the world. All you have to do is buy their box, install it everywhere, have your people manage it and maintain it, and yeah, it's really hard to do. Okay, all right. So we thought that the Lockheed Martin kill chain was going to solve everything, and what it really did is give us too many tools to manage, all right? And also, obviously, too much complexity, right? Remember, complexity is bad in our best practices, okay? And the number of tools when it was early, okay, it wasn't that complex, but as we get more and more, it makes it even more, even if you have the best tools on the planet. Even if I convince you to come and buy Palo Alto Networks, which, by the way, is the best firewall on the planet. That's the commercial we have here, all right? But if you don't configure it properly, okay, it's not going to do anything for you. You're not going to be able to do what you're trying to do down the intrusion kill chain. So the explosion of those tools is what's caused us to be in the situation that we are in. Way too much complexity, all right? So that's the takeaway. We thought the intrusion kill chain was going to solve lots of problems. It gave us too much to manage. Third, too much wasted time, okay? What do I mean by that, all right? So remember, we're trying to do defense in depth here, best of breed, meaning you're going to spend time evaluating all those products. Okay, that means your InfoSec team is going to spend, how long do you spend in the lab evaluating products? 6 months to a year is usually the normal case, right? And so what happens is if you got 130 tools, that makes it really hard to do. How do you keep up with all that, right? And what happens in best of breed assessments is it takes 6 months. Your decisions are made on technical merit. There's some shiny new object that you're looking for when you do these things, right? It's based on speed and the latest innovation. Back when we only had 4 tools, that was pretty easy. The life cycle of a security product is 3 to 5 years, okay? But You're doing about one assessment per year, I guess, is the way we're thinking about it. Okay, so you have all these tools that makes it really hard to do that number. And here's the thing. When you get done with that, after a year of doing those assessments, what you're really doing is forklifting that old technology out of your network and forklifting a new technology in, all to get back to almost the exact same spot you were when you started a year ago. That is not progress, that is churn, okay? That gives you guys a job, but it's not really making your network any more secure, all right? So, that's the takeaway, okay? It's way too hard to get all of that done. All right, the last one here. This is near and dear to my heart, okay? This is too hard to cross the last mile with intelligence. Remember that threat prevention is the conversion of indicators of compromise and attack techniques into prevention controls down the intrusion kill chain. Most of us do that with intelligence, either open source feeds, or you buy the intelligence, or you get it from your security vendors, right? Okay, so white hats and vendors and government agencies do all that. But here's the thing, it's not automated in any fashion, right? If you're a small company, that means you got two guys and a dog in the back room that manages the firewall and the printer, and they're the ones that make the coffee in the morning. They have no time to receive indicators of compromise and convert them into prevention controls in the products that you have deployed. I call that crossing the last mile. It is completely manual in most places, okay, in most places, and that's the reason we're having trouble with this, all right? Your info stack is overwhelmed, and we are failing to put prevention controls all the way down the intrusion kill chain. So that's the big takeaway from this part of it. All right, so what has emerged to solve this problem? Okay, this came out in 2013. Palo Alto Networks invented it, but all the firewall companies do this. They all consider themselves security platforms that do all of those services, or at least most of them. They're next generation firewalls, and they have products that service everything down the intrusion kill chain. All the firewall vendors do this, it's not just us, okay? So if you were gonna be able to do that though, does this solve your problem? If you're gonna buy a box that does most of the things you need down the intrusion kill chain and not buy those 150 different security products, what would it have to do? Okay, what would it have to be for you to be convinced that one box can do most of this? Well, the first thing is you would need complete visibility. Wherever your data is, your technology, that platform needs to be all of those places, right? So what are those places? Behind the perimeter, in your data center, on all your mobile devices, where else? In the cloud, both SaaS applications and IaaS applications. One technology in all of those places. That's where it has to be. If you're gonna buy a platform, it has to be for all of those things. The second thing is it has to be able to reduce the attack surface. What does that mean? Anybody know? It means it has to be easy to make rules like the marketing department can only go to Facebook and nobody else can. And by the way, you should be able to read them in English so you know what you're doing. So after a year, after you put 100 rules in, you know what your security policy is, and it's not a bunch of mumbo jumbo about blocking IPs and ports and protocols, right? So reduce the attack surface. Finally, prevent all known attacks. Remember I told you, we know 99% of them. It should automatically do it all the way down the intrusion kill chain. And finally, it should discover new unknown threats quickly and turn them into known threats and get them prevented down the intrusion kill chain. So any platform that you buy that's a prevention platform should do all of these things. So if you get that done, that means it's already automatically integrated. That means that your staff doesn't have to do it yourself. Okay, it's automatically orchestrated, meaning all the intelligence is coming in automatically. Okay, it crosses the last mile in intelligence automatically. It means your people are not doing that. That means your people can do other things besides read spreadsheets of indicators of compromise. Less wasted time, less complexity, and boom, this is where it fails. Single vendor, okay? Remember what he said for best practices? Vendor in depth, does that meet vendor in depth? No, okay? Does it meet best in breed? Probably not, okay? But I'm telling you that the risk associated with trying to manage 150 security tools in your network is larger than worrying about these two best practices. In fact, I'm telling you that we should get rid of these two and pick up another one in the future. The best practice that should emerge now is choose vendors that integrate for you. If you're buying a new security kit today, if it doesn't integrate with everything you already have in your network, you're wasting your time. That's putting a burden on your InfoSec team to do all that for you. So put that up front when you're choosing new security tools. It should automatically integrate with whatever you have in your network. All right. What's next? Okay, if those were the first phases in my career, in the early days I call that evolution 1, in the 2000s call that evolution 2, what is next on the horizon? What do you think is coming? All right, if you think about what a firewall does, and I'm talking about any firewall that you have, in fact, the vendors don't even call them firewalls anymore. We call them platforms, all right? We call them security platforms. They do a million different things, okay? But if you abstract up what they do, they really do 3 things. They collect intelligence, they process the intelligence looking for bad guys, and when they find bad guys, they block them. They do those 3 things, all right? What these firewall vendors have been doing in the last 5 years is experimenting with moving the processing piece and the collection piece up to the cloud. Right? And the reason we do that is we essentially have infinite storage up there and infinite processing up there. If I tried to put all that functionality on a hardware box, it would eventually fall over, right? And all of us, all the firewall vendors have made boatloads of money doing that. We sell security services from the cloud. At Palo Alto Networks, we don't even consider ourselves a hardware manufacturer anymore. We consider ourselves a software developer and deliver security services through the cloud, a SaaS service, right? And all of us have done it. Talk to your vendors. You can do this right now if you like. Just flip on a subscription and you can get a new intrusion detection system. You can get a new command and control system. You can get a new virtual firewall, sandboxing system just by turning on a button inside your firewall. All right? All your firewall vendors can do that. What do you think the next step is? If we are trying to integrate and orchestrate all the vendors that are out there, what do you think the logical next step for that model is? We're going to open it up to third parties, okay? Meaning, we're going to create an Apple App Store for security products. When you are a Palo Alto Networks customer, you're going to be able to go to the Palo Alto Networks store and see Checkpoint, Juniper, Fortinet, who else? CrowdStrike, any of the security vendors that you like, right? And use their app using the data that the underlying infrastructure is already collecting. Their magic algorithms run in the cloud, and then they deliver enforcement decisions down to the existing hardware. That's what's coming to you next. What do you think about that? Is that something good? He's giving me the eye like that is no way that's going to work, right? This is the model for the future. It's been going on for like the last couple of years. All the big firewall vendors are going to have this, all right? It is the new way you are going to consume security products in the future. You are no longer going to have to download or buy a box, install a hardware box in all the places in your network, devote your InfoSec team to manage it. It's all going to run on the same underlying infrastructure, okay? Okay, so we're going to be able to buy apps just like you buy apps from your app phone, okay? And by the way, you can run, let's say you're in the market for an intrusion detection system, you can download the Palo Alto Networks version, you can download the Checkpoint version, and you can download Bob's from down the street because, you know, 2 guys and a dog in their garage had a great idea for an intrusion detection system. Run them all at the same time and say, you know which one I like? I like Bob's. Turn the other 2 off and run Bob's until you like the next one, all right? That's the same model that you have for your iPhone now. It's what's coming to the security industry, all right? Okay, take a deep breath. I'm almost done. Everybody good? All the guys in the back row, have you fallen asleep yet? I can't tell. You're not nodding down? Man, you guys are a hard crowd. All right, so let's talk about orchestration. How many people have heard of the Cyber Threat Alliance before? Okay, this is a kind of an ISAC for security vendors, okay, and this is relatively new because we thought we were different, that we didn't have to have an information sharing organization because we were competitors and we hated each other, right? That's essentially true for all the other ISACs that are out there, so we finally got our act together about 5 years ago and decided to form ourselves. What you're looking at is the board of directors, okay, for the Cyber Threat Alliance, and we realized when we were forming this thing is that the ISACs have a problem. For those of you who don't know, ISACs are information sharing and analysis centers. There's one for every vertical: finance, energy, telco, IT. There's one for university systems. Do you guys belong? You guys are in one? Yeah. All right. So there's one for everything. So we had to get our act together and get started. But ISACs have 2 big problems. First, not everybody shares. Okay. In fact, only the big guys share. If you want to point to the most successful ISAC out there, it's probably the financial sector ISAC. They have lots of members, because they have lots of big banks in there and they threw lots of money at it and they threw lots of smart people at it. Is generally considered the best information sharing organization in the world. But even the FS ISAC has a big problem, is that not everybody shares. Just the big banks share, like Bank of America and Citibank. All those little community banks with the two guys and the dog, my favorite metaphor for this talk. All right, they don't have time to share. They barely have time to read the messages coming in from the ISAC. So as an organizing principle, okay, we realized that you had to share or you couldn't be in the club. Okay, you have to share, and there's a minimum point value. We score everything with what is shared, and if you don't meet the minimum bar, you can't be in the club, so you have to share, all right? That solves one big problem, because now we can automatically orchestrate this stuff. At Palo Alto Networks, when Unit 42 discovers some new bad guy thing, we can convert that into multiple prevention controls down the intrusion kill chain, deliver it to 55,000 customers around the world in about 5 minutes, okay? That is amazing capability. All the other vendors in the alliance, they have something similar. Ours is better, but they have something similar, okay? All right, so the point is that when something new is discovered, we can distribute prevention and detection controls across the planet in minutes to hours, okay? That is an amazing thing that you want to have capability of, all right? All right, so here's the ask, okay? I have the ask for all of you. When you're buying security kit this year, or if you have your vendors come in and talk to you, okay, ask them, why are they not a member of the Cyber Threat Alliance? Right? Because they need to be. It costs you nothing. It makes the whole community safer. So ask them why they're not and watch them stumble through that answer, okay? And I would be so bold, if you're buying new kit this year, that you do not buy unless it comes from somebody in the Cyber Threat Alliance, right? Point those vendors towards me and we will put them in here and make the entire community safer, right? Okay, so here's what we talked about today. We talked a little bit about cybersecurity history. We talked about adversary playbooks and how we are sharing adversary information in total to send so we can put prevention and detection controls down the intrusion kill chain. We talked about the problems in the kill chain and some of the things we've done to fix that. The solution is orchestration with the Cyber Threat Alliance, and the next phase in the industry is security app stores from your favorite vendors. You're going to start to see them from all the firewall vendors. And the community project that I want you to support is the Cyber Threat Alliance, all right? So I do have homework for you. Okay, this is a university, so you can't get out of here without having to do some homework, all right? Next week, you should go to the Cybersecurity Canon webpage. How many people have heard of this before? Nobody. My marketing department sucks, okay? Helen knows about it. All right, so can I take 2 minutes and talk about this, all right? This started about 6 years ago, and you know what I love about my job? There's always something new out there, some new dastardly thing that the black hats have put together, okay, that's really cool, interesting, really scary, but really cool and interesting, right? And then there's some white hat out there who's come up with some new prevention control that's going to block it. I love that. It's the reason I'm in cybersecurity. You know what I hate about cybersecurity? There's always something new out there. You always have to read. There's always some new thing you got to read, okay? And so like most of us out there, we read as much as we can, and I have a stack of security books in my basement, books I've read, books I'm getting ready to read, books I claim I've read in public, okay? And I went down in my basement about 6 years ago and pulled one off the shelf, and a book I knew I read because I had the author sign it. I knew I read it, but I'm getting old now and I couldn't remember a darn thing that was in that book. So as a personal project to myself, I started rereading the more important ones and writing book reviews for myself so I could remember what was in the darn book. I got about 25 of them together and went to RSA that year and said, hey, here's 25 books we all should have read. Palo Alto Networks decided to sponsor it, so what we have built, are you guys music people or sports people? Sports, okay. We built a football hall of fame, okay, for cybersecurity books. We have an outside committee that I'm trying to convince Helen to be part of next year, okay, who read the books, write the book reviews to make the case that the book falls in one of 3 categories. Must read by all cybersecurity professionals, or if it's not a must read, maybe this is a niche book that if you like it, this is the book to read. But most importantly, the service we give back to the community is do not read. Thank you, all right? Because if you decide you were going to read a book this year and go to Amazon and look up cybersecurity books, you know how many you would get in return? About 3,000, all right? So how do you choose? So you go to the Cybersecurity Canon webpage. That's Canon as in literature, not Canon where you blow stuff up. Okay, you look at Palo Alto Networks and Cybersecurity Canon. You will see that we have about 17 books in the Hall of Fame. All right, so start with those. And then there's about 70 books in the candidate list that may make it to the Hall of Fame at some point, all right? So it's completely free. Go to the website, click the book cover. You can read the book review, and if you don't like to read that much, there's even an executive summary for people like me and Helen, all right? So we can read the bullet points, okay? Man, you guys are dead, okay? All right? Oh my God. What's that? Go to Google, type in cybersecurity canon, and Palo Alto Networks, you will find it, okay? All right, can I tell you my favorite book? Do you have a favorite book out there? Okay, nobody has, okay, do you guys read? Okay, that's the thing we need to, all right. My favorite book of all time is The Cuckoo's Egg by Dr. Clifford Stoll. How many people have read this? All right, more homework for the rest of you don't have your hands on. Okay, this is a book you should have read by now, so let me try to entice you. Dr. Stoll was an astronomer at Berkeley University, okay, and you know, think about Berkeley, okay, think about their political leanings, right? He's left of that and way off on that side. That's what Dr. Cole is and his political leanings. You know, he makes his own clothes, he has an earring, he's got tattoos, he gardens his own food. He's that guy, right? Right? But he's very well liked, he's really funny, and he's working in the astronomy department, and Berkeley is laying off astronomy scientists. They don't have enough budget for them. But the IT guys like Cliff, and they say, Cliff, come over here. I got this Unix lab that needs to be run. You can come over here for a year, run this lab, and when your job comes open in a year, you can go back to being an astronomy person. And in the meantime, you can help us out. And by the way, there's a 75-cent accounting error in the student accounting records. Back in those days, we charged students for computer time. And the entire Berkeley student body, it was off by 75 cents each month. So Cliff, come over and run this Unix lab, fix this 75-cent accounting error that we can't figure out, and everybody's going to be happy in a year or so. That 75-cent accounting error was the first public cyber espionage campaign run by the Russians using East German hacker mercenaries to break into university systems, to break into government systems, because back then the internet was just strings and cans. There wasn't any security anywhere, right? So this is the story of Clifford tracking those guys down. He invented incident response, okay? And the same thing that he did in that book back in the late 80s are the same things that we do today. The same problems that he ran into are the same problems that we ran into today. It reads like a Jason Bourne novel, all right? You can get through it in a weekend, right? So it's great stuff. There's a love story in it, so my wife loved it, okay? And there's even a chocolate chip cookie recipe in the back that I've tried, okay? All right. So that's my book. If you have not read that yet, you should have it on your thing to get done through this year. So go to the Cybersecurity Canon webpage and check it out. It's completely free, a resource to the community, all right? Go to the Unit 42 website. They publish 2 or 3 blogs every week, all right? Completely free. Our philosophy at Palo Alto Networks is intelligence should be free. You shouldn't have to pay for it, all right? So we are publishing adversary playbooks as fast as we can there, all right? For the senior people in there, there's a Security Roundtable website that talks about big issues. Okay, it's completely free, so check that out. In the next 3 months, you should have absolutely read the Lockheed Martin kill chain paper. It is the reason we are where we are today. It's not that difficult to read, so put it on your list of things to do, okay? And then in the next 6 months, you should seriously consider jettisoning those best practices that I was telling you about. Vendor in depth and best of breed. They're the reasons we are in the situation we are in now. And the very last thing you should do is adopt this new best practice. Seek vendors that integrate. I'm done. Any questions out there? Okay, the 3 guys in the back row that fell asleep, I'm going to hold you to questions until nobody can leave until you ask a question. Nobody's got a question. Then I guess I'm done, Helen. All right. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with me. I appreciate it.
All right, so the next session starts, I think, at 10. If you don't know where you're headed, go back to the registration desk. You'll see everything out there. You can also find today's agenda on the cybersecurity.osu.edu website, so check it out there. And thanks for coming. We will see you throughout the day. Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome. Oh, really? Thank you.